With Final Fantasy XIII Part 2 coming up, we think it's a perfect time to get you gamers up to speed with the prequel story. Think of this segment more as a Cliff Notes version so you can jump straight into FF13 Part 2 without feeling too lost. With that said, the story is set in the universe of Grand Pulse. There's this big ass sphere called the Cocoon that floats above this other world called Pulse. It's filled with people and nice looking buildings, and it's also ruled by the government known as Sanctum. They have their own private little army called Psycom. The entities that keep Cocoon floating are called the Fal'Cie. Water, light, food, light shows, you know, the basic things for survival. The Fal'Cie also need slaves, I mean servants they brand on a whim. These servants are called l'Cie. No, not Nick Lachey from 98 Degrees, l'Cie. These branded dudes are given a vague task to fulfill called a focus. If they complete it, they turn into crystal and live for eternity like that. Otherwise, they turn into these little things called the Seer, which look like this. Catch 22, anybody? FF13 starts with Lightning, the badass pink-haired girl here, in a quest to rescue her sister Sarah from being sent to die because she came into contact with a thingamajig from Pulse. That's a big no-no in this universe, and you get evicted and sent to the Cocoon's equivalent of the Killing Fields. Tagging along the female amalgamation of Cloud and Squall, minus the dreary angsty bits from both those guys, is the Murtaugh-esque Saz, bringing along his age and I'm too old for this shtick. He's funny like that. Elsewhere, this guy in a trench coat named Snow and his band of warriors are rescuing these exiles in Cocoon. Snow is your archetype big guy with a heart of gold. Pretty strong, and also kinda dumb too. Lightning loves to punch him. Two exiles join up with Snow after the assault, a Shinji Ikari-esque kid named Hope, and the Giggles McPerky archetype named Vanille. As they converge in a big room housing a Fal'Cie called Anima, the being brands them as l'Cies, and Sarah somehow turns into a crystal because she fulfilled some other focus involving Anima. They get transported in a crystallized Lake Brescia. After a bit of argument, Snow decides to stick around and protect Crystal Sarah, while the rest of the party attempt to escape Cocoon. Halfway through a series of corridors, the team gets split up after an ambush. Snow gets detained by Sid and Fang. The former leads some army and turns out to be another antagonist halfway through, while the latter is an Amazonian holding a spear and has an Australian accent. Don't ask, it's a Pulse thing. Lightning gets stuck with Hope, while Saz here gets stuck with Giggles. Along the way, they go through a long series of corridors and tube design maps filled with pretty sights and a boss battle or two. The usual angsty drama occurs, like Hope wanting to kill Snow since he accidentally let his mom fall to her death, Vanille indirectly turning Saz's son into a l'Cie, and each party member mastering their Michael Bay Transformer-like Eidolons that pop up in the most inconvenient of times. Oh yeah, Eidolons are those things the player summons to deal big damage and put on a pretty little light show. Eventually, they all reunite on the Psycom ship Palamecia, where they meet the big bad, a rather old clergyman dude named Galen Deasley, who is actually a Fal'Cie named Barthandelus in disguise. Not really Kafka or even Sephiroth material, but whatever. He spouts out a bit of exposition. Their focus is to call out this Ragnarok beast to destroy this big old Fal'Cie called Orphan, who is powering up the whole of Cocoon. Barthandelus wants none of that, of course, and after one big ass fight with him and one fight against Sid, who is also a Fal'Cie himself, the group ran away to Pulse and figure out how to take out their l'Cie brands. Vanille and Fang also revealed that they were involved in some old war called the War of Transgression, where the both of them can combine to form Ragnarok to lay the smackdown on Orphan. Sorta like the Dragon Ball Z fusion technique, but a little kinkier. They failed the first time, but after getting up 30 days after FF13's story start, they'd like to do it again. The party seems okay with this eventually. Barthandelus makes another revelation in another fight that he wants to call up the Maker, some entity that can rework the world from scratch. To do this, he needs to cause a big enough ruckus by, say, killing lots and lots of people. What the Maker really does and how it benefits Barthandelus in the long run, it's actually kind of vague. Hooray for Japanese RPG writing, I guess. Turns out they can't take off their brands, so they head back to Cocoon to destroy Orphan. This is followed up by a long cutscene depicting the assault of Eden that personally should have been gameplay in the first place. After more fights capped up by, you guessed it, more boss fights, they head towards Orphan Sanctuary. Barthandelus merges with Orphan, big boss fight happens, everyone turns to crystals since they completed their focus. Bad ending? Not quite. Vanille and Fang transform into Ragnarok together and prevented Cocoon and Pulse colliding into each other by transforming into crystal pillars, acting as both a doorstop and one kick-ass sculpture in the middle of the planet. Everyone else is uncrystallized and everything's sunshine and roses. Or is it? When FF13 Part 2 starts off, for some reason, Lightning has some badass armor and is stuck in some ghost town called Valhalla. Sarah, in the meantime, is the only one who can remember the past game's events while everyone else, well, doesn't. It turns out that someone or something may have messed around with FF13's timeline. Hence all those promos from Square Enix about the historic crags and Moogle tossing. Moogle tossing. Apart from the two, returning characters include Hope, all grown up in a separate timeline and less whinier, a bandana-less Snow stuck fighting plants in the past, and that group from Nora that got about 20 minutes of screen time before fading into obscurity later on. To reveal any more would be venturing into spoiler territory for a game that's not even out yet in English, so we'll keep our mouth shut until then. Phew, that's it for our recap. Stay tuned for GameSpot's final verdict on FF13 Part 2 when it's out January 31st in North America and February 3rd in Europe.